I'm well. How are you?
Excuse me?
How are you? I'm very well.
I'm okay. I'm
I'll take
okay.
I'll take okay.
Okay. Uh, Now this is a reappointment. It's not an appointment, it's a reappointment. Tell us why do you want to serve on this board?
Well, uh, in my interest in making sure that we uphold the laws against anti-discrimination that we have, it's been a pleasure to serve the past couple of years. It seems to be a good board that, and there certainly seems, especially recently, concern in the community about items that may come before us and things that we need to comment on, getting out education to landlords and tenants about their rights, what their rights are as far as housing, about their rights are as far as employment. I think it's a good fit. So far, so good.
During this time that you've been on, what kind of complaints have you heard?
Well, because we need to be able to serve as hearing cases, Kim doesn't normally give us details of, she more reports how many cases there are in various areas. And so I can't really comment on what the exact nature of them was. I remember reviewing one that was a employment discrimination kind of situation where the person felt that it was an ethnic intimidation question, so that came up. But otherwise, just generally, the usual protected classes: family status, gender, sexuality,
Yeah.
race.
Well, are there any things that the city can help you with?
Well, it's such a weird time right now. And the office also, as you probably know, does a lot of work with general hardship, like the, utility help with those kinds of things.
Huh?
Now there's money for help with rent and so forth because of COVID. So, I think they're doing what they can. It's just a matter of staff at some point. I know some people work some pretty long hours in there, but it seems to be going okay. Nobody's complaining too loudly, so I think that's good.
Well, I've heard no complaints concerning the operation of this commission, and just keep doing a good job. Marcia, you're next.
Hey Zelda, how you doing?
I am hanging in there, Marcia.
I know the feeling. So what would you see if you would make any recommendation to the city as far as moving forward in addressing issues of discrimination? Anything that is needed in the name of education, what the Human Relations Commission might be able to do?
Yeah. I don't think there's ever, too little education. So I think we can be out there more. Unfortunately, the types of things I've participated in for the commission, such as, being outdoors at the Pride Festival, or there was another community thing that I went to distribute information, aren't happening in the current climate. But I think the more of those that we can get out where the community is gathering, when we gather again as a community, is good, because my recollection of being at those places were people that, did not realize what the commission did and what their rights were as tenants, as employees, etc. So there were some people willing to share and learn. So I think that there's always going to be a need for more education. I love that Kim does education programs for landlords and for employers. Every time she announces those, I think it's a plus. I think we're in decent shape. I mean, compared to, the stuff you see on the national news. We haven't hit the national news except for once or twice, little fun things, but never really are good things, but okay. But you know what I mean? I think we're in solid ground. I think the city passing the ordinance that they did when they did was a plus. I mean, it puts us in a better shape, just as far as having something on the books, protecting people. So, there's that.
Next.
Oh, okay.
Hi, Zelda.
Johan?
Oh, hi, Zelda. It's Johanny. How are you?
Honey, I am well.
Good. So I actually have the pleasure of serving as liaison to the Human Relations Commission. So I get like firsthand experience in working with Zelda, and she is just amazing, so professional, and your input is always so of such value. So I am thankful that you are willing to serve on the board again and are seeking reappointment. I do have a question.
Yeah.
Areas of improvement.
Mhm.
If we can improve something as a commission, what would that be, and how would we?
Well, we just did because I was really hot to improve the mission statement. And not that, anybody goes by the mission
I
statement,
remember.
but
Yep.
it was kind of a mess a little bit grammatically, but that's my particular problem. But also because the commission does more than just adjudicate here, cases, because it's involved with hardship situations in the city for whatever reason that it landed there. I felt that the mission statement needed to be a little more broad to say that's part of our mission is to improve those lives that way with those resources that come through that office. So we did do that particular change. Improvement going forward is pretty much tied to what Marcia said. I think it's more opportunities, and that's not really from the city, but more opportunities to be out front in events and places where people know what it is that we do and how to reach us, et cetera. So, and what their rights are. So I think that's our next step, I think, to really make a bigger impact if more people are aware of what it is for.
Thank you.
Strat, I had one more question for Zelda.
Go ahead.
Okay, more specifically, Zelda, with this whole period of time during COVID, where now people may be facing eviction that weren't before, is there any role you see the Human Relations Commission playing in that scenario?
Well, we were, as you probably know, we don't meet during the summer, so we just had our first meeting, I guess, September. And I look forward to the next one to ask that exact question, because I know there's a pocket of money that is available that they are guiding people through. So yes, that will absolutely be happening through there. And yay, and good, because it's good people in there doing it.
Zelda, I have a question.
Yeah.
What is the reason for these evictions?
Well, people having no income. If you're in the service industry, Strat, if you work in a restaurant that isn't open,
Okay.
not a whole lot of places to go work right now because everything's shuttered. Things are starting to come back, but it was a rough summer, so that's why. So, rent is, people live, check to check, and if that check isn't there, your rent check isn't there. And,
Yeah.
it's a problem. And for the landlords too, because they're relying on those rent checks. So it's a circle. So wherever that money has been, allocated to be used to be able to be meted out as needed, it needs to happen. Because we don't need more homeless folks.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. I know you're doing a hell of a job there, believe me. And, well, we need people like you on these boards.
Thank you.
Shouldn't be saying that. Okay, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I'll take a compliment. Well, it was a long time when I had no time to do it. Now that I have some time to do it, it's all good.
Well, thank you very much, Zelda. We really appreciate
You bet.
all the work you do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Zelda.
Appreciate you all.
Thank you, Zelda, and I'll see you soon. See you at the
Well,
next
hope
meeting.
so. Okay.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Is the next candidate here?
Not yet.
No, not yet.
Do I hear an echo?
Yes.
Okay. Yep. There it goes.
I see Frank is with us. Would it be possible to ask Frank a question? Frank?
Go on.
Yes, sir.
Frank,
Yes, sir.
what's this talk on this bad accident at 4th and Walnut? 10 vehicles. What was that all about?
I don't have the newest information. I did see an email. What I'll do is let me take another look at it, and then have maybe the mayor and Pedro send you an email, just because some of it has to be deciphered a little bit. I don't have enough information to provide at the moment, but I'll shoot Pedro a text message and the mayor to see if they can provide you something further. And depending what the format, do they, is it public or not? I don't know. So let me text Pedro.
People are asking us, and we don't know.
No, that's understood. No, that's not something that, let me ask Pedro. I'll text him quick, and then see how we can disseminate the information we have about that. Sure.
Bless you.
We have Mike with us now.
Oh, great.
Okay. Is he settled?
Yep.
Mike, welcome.
Thank you.
This is Strat.
How are you?
Good. This is a reappointment, so this won't take long. And I'll ask you several questions. And I'm sure you'll do a good job answering them.
I'll certainly try.
What has the Fire Civil Service Board done well, and what could be improved?
Well, I think we always attempt to do the best we can to provide the best environment for testing for the city and get the best firefighters and paramedics that we possibly can. Both Craig and I are both very committed to doing the best we can for the city and supporting the fire department in any way possible, and we make ourselves as flexible as we possibly can be to do the testing that is necessary. We continue to need a third member for the board, and we've not been successful getting a third member to sit on the Fire Civil Service Board. So if Craig or I are not available, we have no ability to do business. We have to concentrate more on trying to get a third member of the Fire Civil Service Board.
Well, that was one of my next questions. How can we assist you? And this would be one of the things we could assist you in, reaching out and again, getting this out to the public that we need people on the board.
I think we need people on a number of the boards, authorities, and commissions. And one of the things that I believe would be very helpful in that circumstance is to, if there are not other people interested, allow people that do have the best interest of the city at heart to sit on more than one board, authority, or commission. Just from the standpoint, we don't have that many people interested in helping the city with whatever the needs are.
Okay. Marcia?
Yeah, what do you think the greatest challenges you're facing as far as recruiting new personnel for fire and EMS?
Greatest challenges, Marcia, are the pay scale that we have, especially when it comes to EMS. Our EMS portion of the city fire department runs approximately 22,000 calls per year. It is way too much work for the number of trucks we have on the street. Our paramedics run from shift in to shift out. From doing that work for the last 42 years, not the last many on the street, but with the call volume that happens in the city, it's very, very difficult. It's taxing mentally as well as physically. And to do that same call volume with the salaries at the same thing as a firefighter that spends most of the time in station, I think is part of the reason that we don't get more paramedics. And we're paying that kind of money for overtime because of it. We're all, from whatever organization you're in, having difficulty getting paramedics, but in the county, we don't have nearly as much difficulty, and part of that is because of the wage scale. We've attempted to increase our diversity, but as we discussed earlier today, as much as we advertise to try to get more diversity in the department, if people are not interested in applying, we're not able to force them to do so. And we do advertise in a very diverse manner, but it just doesn't typically tend to be something that in this area that we get lots of different ethnicities to apply.
Now, when they're doing their application, is it specifically for a firefighter, or is it firefighter/EMS?
It's firefighter/EMS. If you are a medic, you're automatically put into a different area of the application. Now, you still have to pass everything as someone else does, but because we're so in need of paramedics, we tend to look at them in a different way. Some of the testing is more geared toward a paramedic, and they end up in a different position on the hiring list just because of the need.
Well,
And this
getting back to that diversity, I think that's very important. I saw something very interesting on television the other night about this one department close to us. Was it Washington, close by here? Had just hired 3 females as firefighters. 3 females came on at the same time. And I think it's important that we have females with our firefighters.
And I would completely agree with you. In the testing that we did for entry level, which is roughly a month ago, we did it at Alvernia. They were good enough to provide us a facility where we could distance people. We had, I believe, 160 or so people apply. 125 actually showed up for the test that we administered. 3 of them were female, and I think we had a very small percentage, I believe 6 to 9, that were not Caucasian.
Well,
and it depends from there. It depends on where they fall on the list, whether they're able to pass the CPAP. Right now, from what I understand, we've got as of today, only 40 people out of that 125, pardon me, 40 people and 3 paramedics that are going to be able to move on to the oral interview stage. Other than that, they did not pass the physical agility test.
That's good.
Hi, Mike.
Next.
How are you?
I'm great.
It's
How are you?
Johanny. Good, good. Thank you.
How are you?
Good, thank you. So other than pay increase, what else you think, or what else can we do to make these positions more attractive?
Johanny, we need more people, especially in EMS. We cannot continue to run our people the way we are. It's just not long-term physically possible to do. As things get more specific as far as the need for documentation, it takes people longer to write charts. And by the time you get a couple calls, you're already a couple charts down. If we can't do anything to get more medics, I believe one of the things that needs to be looked at is doing what we do in the county and changing things over to be a paramedic and EMT. Now that makes things tough with the volume of calls that we do because it doesn't allow 2 paramedics to actually split the medic workload. But it's strictly a case of needing more people, needing more trucks due to the call volume that we in the city of Reading run in the EMS side of things. One of the things that I heard today, as we've been doing interviews for promotions within the department, and it's come from virtually every candidate we've gotten, is the need for more personnel. As we've lost our volunteer force, it's been a massive thing that we don't have enough people on call for a lack of safety. And I came up as a volunteer. I started on Rescue 1, then moved to Ladder 1. I think anything that we could do to reinvigorate, and I know it's tough all over, the volunteer program, Johanny, is huge. There's call volume in the city, and people that are coming into firefighting as a, whether it be a junior or people that are just entering firefighting and considering it for careers, they like call volume. And I realize the training requirements makes things difficult. And I agree with the training requirements because when I came into the city as a firefighter, any training I had was outside of the city. And that was a bad thing. But training is much, much better in the city than it was back in 1978. And it needs to be, and I agree with it. But I think increasing the volunteerism is helpful. If we could get volunteers to ride on the ambulance, that would also help when it comes to the workload of the people on the ambulances. Those are the type of things. Foster more volunteerism. I've always been a huge person for volunteerism. I've been volunteering in EMS community, as I said, for 42 years. And I also do quite a number of years in the fire departments. But volunteerism does not remove professionalism. Volunteerism, I think, adds to it and is critical. I believe that professionalism is a state of mind, not a state of the pocketbook. And you get more committed people. Virtually all the volunteer firefighters that I worked with went on to do it as a career. They were great firefighters, and most of them have at this point retired because of the drop program. Gary Mogul was one of those people. Ronnie Wenzel was one of those people. And a lot of the people that I've worked with are gone. But having that as an assist to our paid personnel, I think would help add to our ranks as well.
Thank you for your input, Michael. And I have to say, I'm very fascinated by your commitment and dedication. I mean, that's a side of you that I had no idea. I thought you were just, restaurant business owner. I didn't realize that you volunteered for so many years and your passion for firefighters. Thank you for your commitment. I really appreciate it. How can I help you, or how can we rather help recruit volunteers?
There's a really good question. I think that we don't even have the interest in doing it anymore. And what I had heard continuously from people in the city was there's too much training involved. And I don't completely buy that, because firefighters, from what I've seen, old and new, like to train almost as much as they like real calls. I'm not sure the best way of doing it, because even with us at Western, we're the second most high volume organization around, but we only have several volunteers where we used to have a plethora. It's tough, but I think still putting it out there, and I can speak to some of the people that I am involved with in the county fire departments and see what they do to still recruit volunteers, which definitely is not as much as it used to be. I mean, everybody gets busy doing all their own things, but people that have a willingness to serve still end up being the best we have for the city.
And has there ever been also like some type of junior academy, maybe, I don't know, senior high opportunities for maybe high school seniors to volunteer?
Absolutely. That used to be called Explorer Post. Reading Hose ran an Explorer Post, which was at that point Snorkel One when I came into the department. My choice, because of my EMS involvement, was the rescue truck to start with. So I was housed in the same building before transferring down to Ladder One because of the proximity to my business. If free, I could get across more easily and jump on a call. I also wanted to round out my education in the fire service at that point. But yes, there is. And I believe that is a way, if you can get people to do it, to increase the diversity as well.
Right. So does it sound like we have to reignite some of these initiatives?
It sounds great. I don't know what is being done today, honestly, Johanny. I don't know whether there's still Explorer posts around and they need supervision, if that's the case. There are people that I know that were part of the Explorer post, and that might be a good place to start as far as asking some of them. And some of the earlier career firefighters started that way. I heard of one or two during the interviews today that started as juniors here in the city.
Do you know, I think all these are fabulous ideas that I've talked about for years, as far as getting, when we started the junior police academy, getting someone started for the firefighters. And I like your ideas about volunteerism. I think these are things that need to be discussed with the administration, because there are union issues and we have to understand how that fits in with the whole picture of volunteerism. In the ideal world, we should be able to have both, but I'm not sure whether that ideal exists or not. But we definitely need to be able to grow people into the profession. The young people that I know have made a decision, rather than staying in the firefighter EMS, they just want to go EMS and work at the hospitals.
And I completely understand that. However, I'm not sure whether the proper respect was shown both directions, Marcia.
I hear you.
Back in the day, there was a rivalry between the volunteers and the paid personnel. I know when I volunteered on the ambulance for quite a long time, and this is back in the days of Jimmy Bova, Bruce Briner, some of those guys who I still remain friendly with. There was never any issue because my expectation was when I went in to spend time at the station, I was going to do whatever chores there were, same as the guys do. If there was a truck to be washed, you're not sitting there saying you do it because you're being paid for this. You do it right along with them. And I think that's part of the way you gain respect, that you don't allow there to be a difference in the work that you don't necessarily want to do. And you realize that you are a third person, but if you commit to being there for a shift, you're there for a shift. You don't take it as I'm only a volunteer, and that is, I think there's where some of the respect is lost from the other side. And we're not a threat to these guys, which I think back in the early days, it was thought that we were.
Exactly. Yeah. It's a matter of having better dialogue with both sides.
Well,
I bet the people on the ambulance would love to have the additional hands. You know, we always feel back when I was running much more. Having a third person on an ambulance was a luxury. It was great.
Mike,
One.
Mike,
Yes.
I was a volunteer fireman with a junior fire company going back in the 50s.
Wow.
And I remember when each fire company used to reach out into their districts and get the kids to come in, okay, and show them this and show them that, and tell them, you know, show them what they would encounter if they wanted to become police firemen. I don't know if they do that anymore.
I'm not sure. I remember from back in the days when, God, I had to be 8, 9 years old when we were taken down to the juniors, just as you're saying, Strat. I've got pictures of that, and it was just a wonderful thing. But I think the dialogue was there. I think the dialogue was also there, and the respect was there, not only of firefighters and people on ambulances, which was different at that time, obviously, but also for our police officers. You got to know these people, and I think that's so important for the area and the world as a whole. But I know I'm being very idealistic in my thought in that regard.
Maybe this isn't the opportune time, Mike, but how many people remember Mogul? And who just passed away the other day?
Russ did. Russ Mogul passed away.
Right. And he was, well.
When I started in the department, Russ was our chief. He was Car 1.
Yep.
And we lost Earl Bansner within the last few months. Some of these guys were great, and they were mentors, but some of them also did have a feeling about volunteers that they were more trouble than they were worth. But they were additional people that were committed and wanted to do a good job and would be on fire ground. But there have to be rules for them, same as there were for other people. And I think that's how you take out some of the problems that there were back.
And then you never heard them talk about the overtime. They just worked and that was it. Who knew how many hours they used to work?
And it was very different, but it also made for a safer environment. And later on, it made for better firefighters because they were coming
Right.
into it with experience. They were also coming into it with a passion.
Who's next?
Are we?
I don't have any more questions. I just want to thank Michael for his commitment and his dedication and for wanting to continue to serve. Thank you for all the years that you've been, volunteering your time, Mike. That's very admirable. So just thank you.
Thank you. I do it because I love doing it. As I said, we would like to have more people. We would like to, on the board, also find some diversity. We've just not been able to find anyone. And we've looked at retired firefighters. I spoke to Bill Rare. I spoke to Keith Eshelman. I've spoken to Jerry Boyer. I've spoken to Dick Boyer. People that do have knowledge of the fire department, and that's what we're also looking for. Someone that has the best interest of the fire department, who has an idea of what it takes to put the fire department and their needs first.
Okay. You're doing a heck of a job, Mike.
Well, we keep trying. We
Yep.
appreciate being able to continue to work with the city and further the goals of the department.
Okay, and thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you and have a
Anyone
good night.
else?
Take good care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for your time.
Right.
Hey, you take care, Michael.
Bye now.
Bye.
Take care. Best to everyone.
Okay, how about Jackson?
She's not with us yet.
She got 5 or 6 minutes.
Strat, this is Frank.
Yeah, Frank.
Yes, Chief Tornelli will be at the committee of the whole, so if you had any questions for the Walnut, you ask the chief if you would like.
Yeah, I mean, I could find out for myself, but I have so many people asking me, and I can't tell them. I don't know, and I don't want them to feel that, I'm just not. I don't want to tell them. I can't tell them. I don't know.
Well, that's the honest answer, Strat. We're never going to know everything that goes on at every minute in the city.
That's right. Well, that's why I suggested. You remember, Marcia? I suggested. Now, this is not my district, but anything major that takes place in our districts, we should get some kind of memo or some kind of information so we have it, available for people in our districts that are asking us. Now,
I
we
agree.
thought that this was going to take place. We thought this is what was going to take place, but it didn't.
And unfortunately, we can bring that up. I think there has been attempt in the past in a lot of incidences where I've gotten text messages or emails from the mayor's office about situations, and they've given us as much information as they're allowed to give us.
Well, we'll get what he can give us at the committee at the next meeting. See what the chief can give
Yeah,
us.
we can go on
somebody.
WFMZ. There's information on there. I was just looking. I didn't check out Reading Eagles. Sorry, Jeremy. Is he on? Jeremy probably knows more than what we do at this point.
Who?
Jeremy Long from the Reading Eagle.
Yeah.
Hey, Johanny. You there? I don't know if she's there.
Yes, dear.
Okay, I want to offer you a challenge. You need to talk with Chief Stout to go through the fire training exercise.
Sure, I would love that.
You really would, but you do have a rather, how can I say it, burning kind of smell for the next day. The
Ah,
smoke
that should
just
be
soaks.
interesting.
It really
Really?
is interesting. It shows you how potent it is, but it was it was a little, I shouldn't say a little, it was scary.
So is that offered on a regular basis, or I just have to make time with it?
You just have to ask them when they have their regular fire training. They suit you all up. You get in a suit with a helmet with a ventilator in it. And the suit itself is very, very heavy to walk around in. And then you don't operate any of the equipment. You just follow one of the fire people being trained into the burning building.
Got it. Yeah, that should be fascinating. I really want to explore that volunteers opportunity if possible.
Yeah,
Like
we have to have
folks
a real
who may be interested.
upfront discussion about how that works. The other thing about the EMS, and I'll ask this during the budget discussions, is I want to see how the calls are breaking down. We have a very elderly population in the city, plus there's a significant number of overdoses. And so it may be that the calls are getting to such a volume because of the crisis that we're in right now. And I'm sure COVID hasn't helped that. I'm sure there's a lot of people that are asking to be transported because they have symptoms and they're not sure what they're, how they're feeling or why they're feeling that way. But I've had it with when I had elderly parents, and I really saw these guys at work, and it was just amazing to me. Can we, so is it a few minutes more until our next person?
Well, they've got 2 minutes.
She was scheduled at 4:45 and she did confirm with me.
Oh, that's great. My poor dog is barking every time the phone rings. And I think there's a lot of telemarketers trying to call. So it's been noisy here today.
Also election season, there are a lot of those kinds of calls coming around.